I just finished up a few weeks ago lecturing on kindness and acts of kindness and even thinking about being kind to strangers. And I want to do a short video kind of summarizing some of the effects from the research, but also some of the very non-intuitive pointers, and I'll end with those. Um, but the research is pretty clear that if you just even imagine acts of kindness on strangers, it has a profound transformative effect on your inner mood and your inner well-being. Probably because it's changing your mode from fight or flight. So we're kind of programmed when we talk to strangers to be suspicious, and you're shifting that from fight or flight to the kind of parasympathetic, the rest and digest mode. Because if you're acting kind, again, this person can't be a threat. And some other research backs that up with heart rate variability. So if you haven't heard of heart rate variability, it's a kind of a new thing looking at how it's a new reflection of overall health, particularly the health of your vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve sort of wanders through the body. I think it actually has an effect on all of the organs. And so, and it seems to play a particular role in the parasympathetic nervous system. That's that kind of calming us down, that relaxation response. And you can measure it very easily just by taking your pulse, taking a breath in, and noticing when you breathe in, your pulse will speed up a little bit, and then letting that breath out and noticing how your pulse will slow a little bit. So that difference between breathing in and out is that kind of difference between the sympathetic kicking in and the parasympathetic calming us down. And people who engaged in loving kindness meditations had an improvement on their heart rate variability. But some of the other research was looking at people with physical pain, like chronic lower back problems, and by engaging in these acts of kindness, they were actually able to see a significant decrease in the pain. But the pointers I want to talk about are, well, probably a little less intuitive, and it all centers around what I call the business model of transaction. There's nothing wrong with business. We do it all the time. This is the idea, like, I'll do something for you, quid pro quo. I'll do something for you as long as you do something for me. And it's a lot of times it's just implicit with coworkers, but we do it even with family, where you may have a favor and then it's kind of on the table and you're expecting something in return. The interesting thing about kindness is that it really has nothing to do with this. The literature really points to the idea of genuine kindness as doing an act with nothing in return. And so the first pointer is, when you do an act of kindness, don't post it on social media, don't tell anyone about it. And this isn't easy to do because you may you may have some very positive feelings about it, but then you come home and you want to tell your family or your loved one or someone, and the problem with that is, from a kind of cognitive framework, is that when we have an external justification for something, it doesn't have the same inner transformative effects. And so when you post it on social media, then it turns into a business transaction. You're like, yes, you've done something nice, but you're getting something out of it. And you're getting this kind of recognition and this kind of, yes, I'm such a good person kind of thing. And that happens. But again, if you want to really feel the effects of this, keep it to yourself. And the second is very closely related, and that's to not have any expectations. If you kind of rush into this and you're like, hey, I gave this money to a homeless person, and I didn't tell anyone, but then you're kind of waiting around like, okay, when are these good feelings going to kick in? That seems to distract from it too, because again, you're kind of, it goes back to the self and the ego, and you're just really building an ego, and that's not what kindness is. And so by having that expectation, you're going in the wrong direction. So do the act and let your kind of emotions kind of flow outward rather than inward. Instead of like flowing to the ego, let it genuinely flow out as a giving act. And the third is to just make it a habit. Now the research actually shows that even 10 minutes of engaging in a loving kindness meditation can have a very profound effect on your emotions. But overall, it's one of those things like any meditative practice. The more you put into it, the more you make it a habit, the more you'll see those inner transformative effects. And so, kindness is an incredibly powerful, transformative experience. And I think it really comes down to just shifting things from self-centered to other-centered. And that the class was really, almost blown away by some of their practices when they got into this, particularly just a 5-10 minute meditation on it, let alone actually getting out into the world and doing it. So, as always, if you have a comment, if you've been really blown away or transformed by this kind of shift from self to other, I'd enjoy reading it. And I know it breaks our first pointer, but you got to be flexible with these practices. So I hope that helps.